I reckon today, right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about me and ADHD and being on a neurodiverse spectrum because it's something that a lot of people have they basically asked me about and recommended or asked if I've been tested, recommended that I should get tested and everything else like this. And I will give you my 2 cents on it from my position. Number one is I feel that I am, to some degree, definitely on one of the many spectrums. I think it's pretty obvious when you kind of look at a lot of stuff. I think it's obvious to myself based on how I can be hyper focused on some things. I can have all sorts of hypersensitivity, especially to do with sound. Um, the way that I am about certain things at certain points definitely tells me that I'm potentially not functioning in the same manner as one might, basically. I look at the rest of my family as well, and I think it's pretty clear that on the whole, we are all a little bit something. Now, off the back of that, why don't I get tested? Weirdly enough, I don't see the point. And this is a bit of potential ignorance from me, and it's kind of something that I am about myself when it comes to my mind. And like I've had it with depression and anxiety and this kind of stuff is as wrong as it might come across for myself, and it is important that I reiterate for myself. I don't want to go down a road of diagnosis that then leads towards a medication, simply because when I really started to have a rough patch with my mind when I was a lot younger, because it's kind of when it all started to go wrong, I was determined that it is a issue that is in my brain. As a result of that, it is an issue that I can resolve. It's very ignorant to maybe think that way. It's very, I don't know, stupid, bold, brave, however you want to word it, to think that and assume that as well. A lot of people need help from outside sources via medication, or, some people like myself recently will go down a counseling road, anything. But up until a couple of years ago, I was determined that it was a problem that I basically created within myself, and therefore I could sort of resolve it. However that looked, I would sort of do it. And arguably, surprisingly, it hadn't been working, so obviously I took different routes there. That's kind of my depression and bipolar side. When it comes to the whole ADHD and being on the Tism scale, I don't feel it is bad enough to warrant seeking like medication for. I don't feel personally there is enough benefits for me to go down that road. Um, I know a couple of friends who have gone for the tests and they've had to go get the medication, and the amount of money that they're spending on the medication is, quite a phenomenal amount of money. And from their experiences and from how they come across as a person, nothing has changed. They have spoken about how there was an expectation that the medication was supposed to do various different things, but they still have the same battles that they had before. It doesn't work like that for everybody, and I appreciate that there's people out there that it massively helps. The other side of that coin is and the potential that it hinders. I have a family friend who's got a kid who's struggled massively, like really, really struggled in a big way, and they put him on medication to try and help sort him out. The irony was when he was on the meds, he was so much worse. His behavior was really, really appalling when he was on the meds. You couldn't get through to him. You couldn't communicate with him. He just went completely the other way. As soon as they took him off the meds, the kid is so much better. He's tenfold better. For myself, like I say, I don't feel that I suffer severely enough for it to warrant finding out for sure if I'm on that scale, how far I am on that scale, and then, taking the medication or however it looks to do something about it. I feel that I am somewhat capable of functioning as required. So therefore, I don't see the point, truth be told, for myself. I don't see the point. Having a diagnosis that says, yes, you are this, yes, you have this. Okay, cool. It doesn't change anything about my life. It might make understanding things a little bit easier, but it doesn't make my experience of the world any easier. Understanding that, okay, yes, I'm on a spectrum doesn't make my interactions with people any easier, for example. It doesn't make how I perceive things to be any different. Understanding in this situation for myself, it offers nothing personally. I'm saying personally, this is all my own self. Outside of that, obviously, everybody is different. 100% everybody is different. And everybody deals with things differently. Everybody processes things differently. Everybody manages things in a different way. So I have no issue if other people choose to go a different direction. For myself, I don't see the point. I feel that there are better ways to manage things than the way that I do things. And the irony there being potentially one of the situations being on the scale, on the spectrum, is that I then struggle to do the things that I need to do. It's this vicious circle of this would help me, but then it's like doing it and, you kind of get nowhere quick. I just feel for myself, this is the better way. Only because, like I say, it doesn't give me anything. I get clarity, I get clarification. Cool, great. I wake up one day and I have that hypersensitivity to sound. Knowing that it's because I'm on a spectrum doesn't change the fact that that happens to me. Doesn't change the fact that some days it feels like you can wake up and you can hear a mouse breathing 300 miles away and it's just the loudest sound ever. Understanding that that is something that you are, a little bit about your character, it doesn't help me. But I do think, honestly, it would be a bit stupid for me to stand here and say, no, I don't have any of that. I think, like I say, I think it's very clear that there is, even if it's just a sprinkling, there is definitely some sort of Tism or ADHD present there. So why test for it? Just to get a box tick? I don't know. I'd like to hear you guys' opinion on it. Because of, I suppose, your own experiences with life. If you could find out a definitive yes or no, would you want to know, knowing that it potentially doesn't change anything going forward? It's not going to make any interactions any different. It's not going to make the way that you interpret the world change suddenly just because you have an understanding of something. That's where I'm at. That's why I just won't. That's why I don't. And that's why I find myself trying to rationalize and understand with myself better. I know that I'm a very anxious dude. I know that I hate public speaking. I know that I struggle so much with those sort of things. Yet, here I am on a YouTube channel that has got, 6,000 subscribers, and people watch these videos. And I'm very aware that people watch these videos and people say some really nice things and people say some really horrible things. And I put myself out there for that to happen. But my argument and counter to that is, when I'm recording this video right here, you guys are just in front of me. There's one lens. Technically, I look at it like one big eyeball. Kind of intimidating, kind of scary, but it's one. There's a screen above the camera. I see myself. So it's public speaking without being so public. It's being able to talk to whoever sees this without you even being here. It's very different to if I have to address certain things with work, trying to, even people in a different space. Like my work is such a small number of people at the minute. Sure, there's 2 or 3 other people, but I got to turn to those guys and say something. I find it a lot easier now that I've kind of got to know these people for 6 months, than I did when they first started. Likewise, I always think about reading out loud at school. That for me was, that was hell. I hated it. It makes me question, can I actually read? Am I reading right? It makes all the nerves come up. This is not a situation that I'm comfortable with. But going forward and sort of getting older in life, you realize that some things are gonna happen regardless. And you just have to almost like take that ball of anxiety and just put it over there and just leave it over there for now. Do whatever it is you need to do, and then almost revisit that anxiety. Do you need to go back to it? Is it worth it? Is it still there? And chances are it's nowhere near as big as what it was. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels that trying to acknowledge within myself that this is something that's going to cause me a headache because I feel like, I'm on this scale, or I have this spicy brain or whatever else. So I'm going to face certain challenges in life, but for myself, acknowledging that I'm aware that those challenges are going to arise helps me almost try and push through them, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel that taking pills or whatever medical advice is won't change that situation. I don't, ignorantly, don't get me wrong, I don't see a world where, let's say, for example, I was to address, again at school, I was to like go to a school and talk to the kids at school. Right now, in the here and now, that is horrendous. But if I had to do it, I would manage to find a way to do it. Versus if I took the pills, I don't think that it's going to make the nerves any less. I don't think it's going to make the situation seem like it's just a walk in the park. So what is the medication actually trying to bring? What is the offering of kind of peace to the spicy brain that it's there to relieve me of? I don't see it because I don't know it. I've not been through it, so I can't compare the 2 different outcomes. But to those people who have asked, put it forward and suggested it, I agree that when you look at all the evidence, if you were to see me in a day-to-day life for, a week or 2, you would definitely be able to sit there and go, this guy is definitely on the spectrum. Likewise, I genuinely also believe you'd be able to sit there and go, definitely a sliding scale as well. Just simply because what can really tickle my pickle one day, I can completely be okay with the next. And I've no rhyme or reason as to why that is. It's just the way that it is sometimes. It's interesting in terms of whether or not it would help focus. I feel that there is definitely a bit of a scatter mind in there where I can be so hyper focused on something and then get distracted by things. That's a very interesting kind of line that I walk. Likewise, I definitely can get hyper fixated on the wrong thing. So sometimes you can almost get hyper fixated on procrastination and not at all care about what you're supposed to be doing. I have found that my actual job is really, really useful here because there's a lot of things that come up that need to be addressed. Like all the time, I'm kind of constantly bombarded with stimuli from work of jobs that need doing and they need to be addressed, in a sort of timely manner with a little bit of method and stuff. And I found that it really kind of pleases my brain to feel that I'm able to hyperfixate on one side of the job that needs to be done. Likewise, if I get distracted, I'm actually getting distracted by something that still needs to be done. I've not had a moment in, whatever it is now, 14 months or something at work, where I've sat there and gone, this is all not doing anything for me, and I get distracted completely and get hyperfixated on something else. Whilst at work, I'm there, and I feel that my employment has been so good for me in so many different ways. For where I was to where I am, it might not come across as much, but for my own self, I feel I feel a big difference. Big difference? You know what I mean. I feel a difference anyway. So, but to summarize, to answer the question, ADHD and me, the Tism and me, you can see it. Realistically, you can see it. You can see that it's definitely present to some degree. Would I get tested? No. Don't see the point personally. Just simply because it doesn't help me from how I see it. Doesn't offer me anything that's going to help me in any which way. My advice to others, only you know what works for you. Only you could know for sure if you're really struggling so hard with something, if you're better off to get an understanding of it or not. Like I say, I had a friend who did that. He was really struggling with so much stuff, motivation, the way that his brain was just all over the shop everywhere. He went and got an official diagnosis. And then he got himself on some tablets, and he found that the tablets didn't do anything other than make him really tired. They did help his focus, but his focus was still sporadic. It just meant that it just intensified his focus. It didn't give him the focus to the right thing. It's just if he was focusing on the wrong thing, that focus was just more intense. So didn't particularly work for him. He was hoping it might offer him some sort of relief that he felt. It didn't. So he's, not really there anymore. Same with, like I say, my friend's kid, really struggling with so much stuff. They put him on the tablets and he went worse. I don't know about anybody that I interact with, if they're on medication that's worked positively for them. It's not really something that we talk about. It seems like it's still quite a taboo topic, really, especially for men. I don't know what it's like for women, but for men, it's just not the done thing, I guess. You don't go to your best mate and go, are you on any tablets because you've got, some sort of neurodivergent thing going on? You just don't talk about that sort of thing. So to know if there is anybody that I interact with that they've had a positive experience with medication, I have nothing to offer there. I just know that it is an option and it's potentially worth looking into if nothing else is working for you. My own position is do whatever you feel is best for you as the individual. If you've been doing something for so long and it's not working, it is potentially worth exploring other options. That's all I will say. That is kind of how I've put my own things in practice. I've tried to force through with pure ignorance and strength of mind and character that I don't need this, and it's not worked. So, the whole counseling thing is my direction switch. So sometimes it calls for it. Sometimes we're just too pig-headed. We're determined to plow on through. Just thought I'd drop a little bit of a video, just have a little chat with you guys. I know it's been a little bit of a while, but hopefully it clears things up or it answers a few questions anyway. I appreciate you guys and thank you very much. Recently, things have just been a little bit good. Thank you. Honestly, hope you're well. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like me to talk to. And I'll see you in a bit. Cheers, guys. Bye.